All right, so I'm gonna show you the easiest recipe to make vegetable beef soup in an Instapot. So of course we got the Instapot. I've got beef broth. I won't use all of this, but probably at least one full container and half of another. I've got one large can of veg oil, 2 small cans. This is what I had in my pantry, so you can actually use 2 large cans of veg oil if you want. And then of course stew meat, and I've got about 2.5 pounds of meat right here. So let's start putting this together. All right, so the first thing we want to do is set our Instapot to saute. Make sure that it's on high, and then we're going to add a little oil to this once it comes up to temperature. Next, we're going to add our meat. And add a little bit of salt. Gonna add a little bit of pepper. And then I like to add a little bit of Montreal steak seasoning. And now we'll let this cook, kind of brown up a little bit, and we'll go from there. So once your meat's browned a little bit, about 3 or 4 minutes, you're gonna cover this with some beef broth. And then put your lid on. Now we're going to switch it from saute over to pressure cook. So you got to hit cancel first. Then you're going to hit pressure cook. 20 minutes on high and let it go. All right, so the timer's beeped and it's been slowly releasing for 4 minutes. I'm going to hit cancel on the keep warm button. I'm going to release the steam valve. And we're going to let it release. Okay, so now all the steam is released. The pin is dropped down. We're going to open it up and take a look at it. I like to cook mine until the stew meat starts to fall apart. So I'm actually going to put it back on and cook it for another 10 minutes. So one of the things I forgot to show is I like to add fresh tomatoes to my soup. So I'm going to add a quart of tomatoes. You can leave this out if you don't like the tomatoes in it. Or you can add fresh tomatoes, or you can add a can of tomatoes, either one. But since I have homegrown tomatoes here that I've jarred up, I'm gonna add a quart of tomatoes once this is ready. All right, so 10 minutes later, let's take the top off. Let's see what this looks like now. So now I'm gonna take a spoon, I'm gonna bust this up a little bit, chop it up, kind of get it into smaller pieces. Now if you're gonna add tomatoes, what I would suggest is to go ahead and put your tomatoes in next. Give that a little stir, and then we're gonna put this thing on saute, bring the heat up really quick, and get these tomatoes to cook down a little bit. If you're not adding tomatoes, you don't have to do this step. You can actually add your vegetables, add a little more broth to it, turn it on, let it simmer. But I like to cook my tomatoes down just a little bit. So we're gonna go back to the control. We're gonna hit saute. 30 minutes is fine, just as long as we're on high. So next we're gonna put the lid on. But make sure you leave your vent open. You want your vent to be open so that steam can escape out. All right, we've let the tomatoes cook down a little bit. Now it's time to add our veggies. So I'm just using veg oil, straight out of the can, right here. I pour juice and all. Some people choose to drain off the juice, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of flavor in that. It keeps you from having to add water to your soup. Now we gave this a quick stir. Now we're gonna put it on slow cook. So we're going here to slow cook. Really don't need it to be on very long. The canned vegetables will turn to mush if you ain't careful, so you don't really want to go long. About an hour and a half. Let it slow cook on high, and then it should be done. All right, so soup's been on for about an hour. Add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. One of the things I like to do is add just a little bit more of the beef broth. So I'll add a little bit more to it. And let's make us a bowl. All right, so I'm gonna have to eat mine with saltine crackers. So a little bit of saltine crackers. Let's give it a taste. Perfect. So there you go. Easy soup made in Instapot.